Angels or dragons? Angels or dragons? Star with a tail, cometa, bearded, tangled locks. Star with the tail. You see the tail on this dragon. Oh, it's just a tail of debris, but we hear all these accounts, eyewitness accounts of this, tail standing erect. And it seems to be controlled like one organism. We read how this comet literally, damn near stood still and hovered for a while and kept going over certain people. So when we say angels or dragons, we're not really saying angels or dragons. We really are saying that the angels are the dragon, the highest order, the Seraphim. Talking Seraphim. We're talking dragon fire. Higher Mark letting you know about them California dragon fires, right? Subscribe to Higher Mark in that classroom, man. Let's go, let's go. What do you think burned down Sodom and Gomorrah, man? We just talking dragoons, man. Love to James Munder dropping that drop. We're talking the Seraphim. The word seraph is used 7 times in the Hebrew scriptures. We dug on, get parts 1 and 2 so you can get all the scripture that we dug on. Numbers 21, Isaiah 6. We're going to dig on Revelations 12, man. We're going to get into the New Testament so we can compare this dragon again in Revelations with Leviathan. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting comparison. Let's go there. We dug on Isaiah 6. Seraph is the plural. Seraphim is the plural of seraph. Let's go. The poisonous snakes that Ahchwa used to punish the Israelites. We're talking the fiery serpents. So you're going to have to get it in your head bone and say, do I envision a snake on fire? Do I envision literally a fiery snake, like a snake burning, squiggly snake burning? Or am I envisioning a dragon breathing fire, fiery ones, fiery dragons? Because we're not really talking serpent when you talk dragon. In your right mind, you remember, in the loss of paradise and the events connected with it, the fox plays the part ascribed to the serpent in the Hebrew legend. So in your Hebrew indigenous mind, when you think of a serpent tempter, crafty, coy, trickster. You're talking about the Egyptian jackal, which is the tempter in the Egyptian legend. So in the Hebrew legend, in the indigenous mind, the fox plays the part ascribed to the serpent. You're talking about in your legends of creation, it's not a snake, it's a fox, it's a jackal. And that's when we dug on the difference between the tans. We dug on the tannins. Which is a singular, not a plural, the tannin, connected to the dragon specifically. So then you can apply that to Genesis 1:21, when they say great whales, right? But just like in P.T. Barnum's museum, they say, oh, these whales were burned alive. Oh man, let's just go. Let's just go, man. I mean, you remember P.T. Barnum. We're gonna talk about Phineas, man. Free Phineas. We're gonna do this one for Phineas, man. Ahchwa to the dragons on the wall. Let's go. We're gonna do this for the dragons on the wall. Click all the links below because you got them. It says featured links. Click on. 150 years ago, a fire in P.T. Barnum's museum boiled 2 whales alive. Now we're going to see how accurate all this is when we, dig on it. We fact check it. Come on, man. Come on, man. Let's go. So were these 2 whales or were these dragons? Were these whales or were these dragons? This is how they like to trick us, right? Because we're not going to dig no further. I mean, the people ain't going to dig no further. They're going to say 2 whales. All right. They're not going to say, what are whales doing in a building? You're not going to use common sense, right? If you've never seen whales placed in a building before, nonetheless 2 of them, you don't even get that really when you go to the aquariums. You ain't gonna see whales at the aquarium like that. You're gonna have to go to like a special type of SeaWorld situation, man. And even then it's set up different than being in a building like this. So if it doesn't make sense for them to be whales, what might have caused the fire in 150 years ago? 1865, one of New York's most popular and morally questionable because it was called a freak show. Because they had so many things in there and they were all in captivity. They called them enclosures, right? Just like they call you right now. You're just in a city. No, you're in captivity, man. It's morally questionable to have you in captivity. It's morally questionable to have dragons in captivity. When you know that we're talking Seraphim, an angel of the highest order. Get this link. I'm just going, man. Reach unlimited, unknown to the Christian, lay Christian. So if you come at us like a Christian and you got an issue with us digging and having any type of investigation or trying to reach a conclusion of what an angel is, what a seraphim is, when we talk the highest order of angels, man. What does this got to do with Phineas? What does this got to do with a rhinoceros? Oh yeah, what does it got to do with whales? Everything, boss. You're talking the angel of the highest order, man. So you got to get out the mind of a lay Christian when you talk dragon, or when you want to see what we're digging on, you got to get out the mind of a hijack. You have to, or else you're not going to see clearly, or else you're not going to see. We're talking seeing clearly as the etymology of what a dragon is. We're talking etymology. To see, to see, to see. What does it have to do with a sea fish? Well, again, what does it have to do with a whale? What does it have to do with tannin? Because it is a Hebrew root verb, a root noun in this case, and it's talking about the dragon. But you see in Genesis 1:21, there's two different translations of it. One says the great sea monsters, and the other says the great whales. And why are they using whales interchangeable with sea monsters, which is only talking tannin, which is only talking dragon? So they're hiding it from you. They're hiding the fact that they're talking dragons here, especially when we talk Leviathan, right? We're going to dig on Leviathan, man. We're going to dig on Revelations 12. Let's go. So when we talk dragon, sometimes they're talking whales, the great whales. And it's up to you to know they're talking dragon. Let go. Here we go. And Ahchwa said, let the waters bring forth abundantly, and the moving creatures that have life, and the fowls that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And Ahchwa created great whales. And when you click on these whales, what do you get? Oh, we're back to tannin. We're just talking dragon. We're just talking dragon. We're just talking sea fish, right? Which is just talking dragon. So I ask you again, what burnt? What was burnt alive? In P.T. Barnum's museum? Oh, come on, man. You remember this drop, man. You remember this drop, man. Chef Candy dropped this. Let's go. Ahchwa, Chef Candy. We're just talking Phineas. This book has everything to do with the draconology, man. Free Phineas, man. Let's go, man. This book is the Dracopedia, the Great Dragons, an artist field guide and drawing journal. Get the link, pull it up. This is for the real dragon enthusiasts, the real draconologists. This is when we realized that there was a such thing as draconology, the study of these dragons going to their nest. They got artist sketchbooks where you can kind of sketch what you're seeing. Warning for dragon enthusiasts, dragons are not pets. The expeditions and adventures described in this book have been performed under the guidance of trained observers, experts, and draconologists. This is when we say, what? This is a draconologist? The author encourages all readers to be forewarned that dragons are extremely dangerous and unpredictable animals that should never be approached or harassed. Leave them alone, they're saying. Severe injury and death may be inflicted by these animals in their natural habitats. What habitats? Dragons are predatory wild animals. Intrusion in their nesting grounds, threaten of their young, startled behavior are all natural catalysts for dragon attacks. What dragon attacks? Talking about the fiery serpents? They are merely acting upon their instincts, man. So that's when we start digging on the circadian green dragon called Phineas. And this is one of the dragons that they're calling whales that were supposedly burned and boiled. But 2 died, and I guess 2 survived. And then one died shortly after, and the only one that was left standing was Phineas. Now, what burnt down this museum? I mean, if you put 4 dragons in captivity, maybe your museum might burn down. And what do they say before leaving an expedition to see the Akkadian green dragon? Now, check this out, man. This is called a Draco Rexus. You look in the Children's Museum today, in the Children's Museum, they have a Draco Rexus. But they take the wings off, so you think it's just a dinosaur. But you put the wings back on these dinosaurs like the T-Rex, and you have these Draco Rexuses. You have these are species of great dragons. That's why they say the T-Rex is the king and all this stuff. They're talking Draco Rexus, man. They're talking Draco Rexus, and it's in the Children's Museum today. Now, what's up with this Akkadian green dragon? What's up with Phineas? Before leaving on our expedition to see the Akkadian green dragon in the wild, Conseil and I made a stop to see the country's most famous dragon in captivity, Phineas, Fort Tryon Park Zoo. And we dug on this before. Let's touch on it. Let's go. Fort Tryon Park Zoo. So there's a place called Fort Tryon Park Zoo in Upper Manhattan. Is home to Phineas, a 140-year-old Akkadian green dragon that has lived in New York City for over a century. In 1857, listen up, we're going to connect this with reality. We're going to fact check this stuff. Let's go. In 1857, P.T. Barnum acquired 4 Akkadian green dragon hatchlings. P.T. Barnum. P.T. Barnum, right? P.T. Barnum, right? And they're calling this a freak show. They said that this had morally questionable behavior, man. I mean, to have these dragons in captivity is morally questionable. To have the Naga, the Negro, in captivity is morally questionable. They call these enclosures, but we know they're prisons. It's morally questionable. So P.T. Barnum acquired 4 Akkadian green dragon hatchlings, not whales, which he placed in his American Museum in New York. When the museum burned down in 1865, 2 of the small dragons were killed. Stop! Oh, stop it right there. You said how many were killed in P.T. Barnum's museum in 1857? Out of the 4 dragons, right? So P.T. Barnum acquired 4 green dragons, all right? Baby green dragons. And when the museum burned down in 1865, 2 of the small dragons were killed. Stop. 150 years ago, a fire in P.T. Barnum's museum boiled 2 whales alive. 2 dragons were killed. 2 whales were burned alive. We can go all the way back to the Hebrew root word, tanin. 8577. And we know that when they talk dragon, they're also talking whales, whales, whales. So now we see that they play with it, just like Moby Dick was originally about a white dragon, not a whale. They changed the story. Before it was Mocha Dick, and it had everything to do with a dragon. Age, I believe it's called Age of the Dragons or Age of the Guardians. One of those has I believe it has Morgan Freeman in it, I want to say. But yeah, man, It has everything to do with them hunting this dragon, and this is the story of Moby Dick. So Moby Dick was originally about a dragon, and they switched it to whales, just like they switched Phineas to a rhino. Now when you look up Fort Tryon State Park in Upper Manhattan today, they got a rhinoceros named Phineas, dog. Oh yeah, we're about to dig on that, man. They got a rhino named Phineas, man. So why would you need a rhino named Phineas if there was never a dragon named Phineas at that same exact park? I mean, you could have rhinoceroses, but it's very coincidental that you call him Phineas, man. Oh, let's put another horned, ancient creature, you know, another creature with horns on his nose. Let's call it a rhino. Let's call him Phineas. Although back in the day, it was all about people going to see the dragon named Phineas in 1800s. It wasn't weird in the 1800s to go visit a dragon. Now, 2019 is crazy. Come on, man. You're talking about the Doomsday Comet. You're talking about dragons. Let's go. 1857, Barnum acquired 4 Acadian green dragon hatchlings, which he placed in his American Museum in New York. When the museum burned down in 1865, 2 of the small dragons were killed, 2 whales burned alive. The remaining dragons were taken on tour with Barnum for over a decade on P.T. Barnum's Grand Traveling Museum in Menagerie. So his freak show, his Grand Traveling Freak Show, they took the other 2 dragons. In 1888, Barnum donated 1 of the dragons to the London Zoo. Is it play? Or will you find evidence of this? We're fact checking, right? Barnum donated 1 of the dragons to the London Zoo, but it quickly got sick and died in 1889. The last dragon, my naga, the last dragon was donated to the New York Zoo in 1891 upon Barnum's death and named Phineas in honor of his benefactor. A beautiful Victorian dragon house was built for Phineas. No, that was a prison. A beautiful Victorian dragon. Shut up, man. You put him in jail. And he quickly became the central attraction, which means they started making money off of him. By the 1960s, however, the New York Zoo, the Dragon House, and Phineas, who had been living in the small, cramped concrete pit for over 70 years, were all in bad repair. So even as early as recent as 1960, they were still visiting Phineas in New York City, man. What world are we living in? What we think is crazy. This is all the nesting grounds of the Acadian green dragon throughout, you know what I'm saying, all the coastal areas, from Connecticut to Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, Nova Scotia, all the way up. So in the red, you got the historical nesting grounds, and then in the purple is what they're left with today. So as early as 1960, they were still visiting Phineas, man, who had been living in a small, cramped concrete pit for 70 years. They were in bad repair. Now listen up, man. In 1972, the newly formed World Dragon Fund used Phineas as their poster dragon to raise funds for the protection of dragons or for more imprisonment, for more jail time. In 1978, a new dragon enclosure was built for Phineas, a new prison, and his health and attendance at the park dramatically improved. Attendance improved. So they were still visiting Phineas in 1978. 1978, my naga, they were still visiting a dragon in New York City at Fort Tryon State Park, man. State Zoo. They call it a zoo now. This is a dragon preserve. Now it's a dragon prison. A new dragon enclosure, as of 1978, was built for Phineas, and his health and attendance at the park dramatically improved. Today, Phineas, free Phineas, is the only great dragon alive in captivity in America. Phineas is the only great dragon alive in captivity in America, man. You dig on the brown driver's breeze, Start digging on Phineas the Negro. Yeah, man, you got Phineas the Negro connected to the scripture, so they try to tie it into P.T. Barnum. I mean, it can connect all the way to Eleazar, you dig? Eleazar, you dig? In captivity right now, today, Phineas is the only great dragon alive in captivity in America. Oh yeah, 1972, the newly formed World Dragon Fund was used for Phineas to raise funds, right? He's the poster dragon. Now they got a rhino as the poster dragon, covering up the truth. You wouldn't need a rhino named Phineas if you didn't have a dragon named Phineas. And what's this World Dragon Fund, man? And I believe Ahchwa Freeman dropped this on us, man. Templeton Dragon Fund. So the started as the World Dragon Fund is now the Templeton Dragon Fund. Today it's traded as TDF. Today it's traded as TDF on the World New York Stock Exchange, man. So you dig on it. You got the links. Dig deeper. Dig deeper. This is what we do. This is our investigation, man. Templeton Dragon Fund, huh? In 1972, the newly formed World Dragon Fund used Phineas as their poster dragon to raise funds for the protection of dragons. And then they formed a new dragon enclosure or a new dragon entrapment for a new prison. 2 whales alive, 2 whales boiled in the fire. What caused the fire in this building if you had 4 dragons in there that you're calling whales? That Tanin is calling the great whales. Genesis 1:21. And Ahchwa created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly. Now, on the 5th day, Ahchwa created dragons. These were certain dragons that were created, you know what I mean, water dragons, Leviathan type situations and all that, man. We're going to dig on Leviathan because we're talking the great whales. And now we know that the great whales are the Tanin or the dragons or the giant sea fish are still the dragon when you're seeing clearly. And you know that these whales in 1865, this morally questionable museum burned to the ground. I mean, they had mermaids, artifacts, skeleton of a mermaid. They had mermaids in this thing. It was a freak show, right? No human lives were lost, but many animals perished, including 2 whales, right? 2 dragons, right? Two of the small dragons were killed. The remaining dragons were taken on tour. 1 died, and old Phineas held it down, man. Free Phineas, man. And just in case you think it's play, man, let me get a piece of this Phineas drop that we did on this series called Cloud Forest. Let's take it from here. Wow, let's take it from here, man. Acadia National Dragon Preserve. Acadia National Dragon Preserve. Again, Acadia National Park. So all these federal parks are most likely dragon preserves. Bang. I'm just saying, we're just surfing away. Remember, Phineas is no longer. Remember, he's the poster child of the World Dragon Fund, right? The Frank Templeton Dragon Fund, now it's called. In 1972, the newly formed World Dragon Fund used Phineas as their poster dragon to raise funds for the protection of dragons or captivity of dragons. 1972, the World Dragon Fund. Sister Larissa broke this down. She dropped the documents. We dropped it on the last part. Go get that. The Frank Templeton Dragon Fund, currently being traded on the New York Stock Exchange as TDF. And they're using Phineas. But now, when you go look at Phineas, Tryon Park,
Let go.
Zoo, look who's the new face of Phineas. Who's the hijack Phineas? Where's the hijack Phineas? Hey, the hijack's never late. Because the indigenous drop is always on time. We're just talking this spooky little place, man, called what? Tryon Park. Fort Tryon Park, man. It's a fort. It's a fortification. It's a captivity.
Dang.
This is one cover-up for one big-ass dragon preserve. A new enclosure was built when? Hey, we're just surfing the wave. We're just going off a theory, a hypothesis we're putting together. Don't jam us up for having a theory and thinking outside of the mind of a hijack. Phineas, who had been living in a small, cramped concrete pit for 70 years, were in bad repair. So when we read this story that Chef Candy dropped on us, man,
Chef Candy got the drop.
it sounds like this is a time period when Phineas was in bad repair. He was talking about he's dying, you know. And then in 1972, the newly formed Dragon Fund used Phineas as their poster dragon. 1978, a new dragon enclosure was built. Free Phineas, man. Who's the new face of Phineas? A rhino. Who's the new face of Phineas? Come to the zoo and see Phineas. I can't make this shit up. So instead of being the dragon, they put a different type of dinosaur, dragon-like situation, and they put a rhino. Come to the zoo and see hijack Phineas. Say hello to Phineas. Oh, what? Oh, Phineas, it's just a rhino. It's just a rhino. Nothing going on here. In 1972, the newly formed World Dragon Fund used Phineas as their poster dragon to raise funds for the protection of this enclosure all across this beach, all across Maine. Maine is Mananan. Mananan is Dananan. So Dan was rocking here with Dan's Dragons. You got Massachusetts, you know what I mean? All this down to New York where Fort Tryon is down here. All of the red is the nesting ground. Wow. A large sketch of the coastal land protected for the Acadian dragon to use as its nesting ground. Acadian National Dragon Preserve, now just called the Acadian National Park, right? Federal Reserve Preserve. A large stretch of coastal land protected for the Acadian dragon to use as its nesting ground. Nesting ground. This is a big nesting ground. What are we talking about, boss? What are we saying, boss? Is this play, boss?
Yeah, man. Dragon eggs. Wakey, wakey. Eggs.
Oh, the eggs are actually 60. What they say? Gosh, the hijack is never late because the indigenous drop is always on time, man. The hijack's never late because the indigenous truth is on time. 60 million year old carbon dating cannot even take you past 10,000 years. You can't use carbon. The shit don't even, your shit can't even be active that fucking long. And now you want to say it's 60 million. You want to just tell the people, oh, don't worry, it's 60 million years old. Trust me, carbon dating, we got that.
Rocks don't date like that. Carbon don't rock like that. Carbon 14 and all that BS, man. They don't date back that far. We know that now. So 60 million years, you know it's a hijack. These eggs are boulders. Really? From where? This mountain? Spherical boulders? Got the hijack.
Spherical boulders. Yeah, man.
Boulders, huh?
Look, man. Maybe you think this is play. You know, that was about, almost 2 years ago, man. That was 2017 now, man. So we know, man, when we're talking these Seraph. See, when they went to war against the Naga, man, they had to go to war against the Naga and the Dragon, man. And you got this stuff in the 1800s with this P.T. Barnum, but remember, you had the Dragons during the Revolutionary War, Love to Miss D, who dropped, some connection with this Revolutionary War and these dragons that was taking place. Let's see if we get some of that there. I know it's getting a little tabby. Might be in the drop chat. Yeah, let's get it out the drop chatter. Y'all getting the chatter, man. This is your own secluded alcove, man. Love to Yosef the Real. Much Ahchwa, Shalawah, man. See what I'm saying? We just surfing away. We just surfing away, man. Oh, there we go. We just surfing away, man. Talking to the homie, man. Don't mind me. I'm just talking to the homie, man. We just surfing away, man. That's all Ahchwa, man. Let's go. Go. See if we can get this, which one? I think I pulled it up already, though. Oh, there we go. I knew I had it up. See, remember this series is supposed to be some type of alternate history thing going on, but we already know they're talking that real spill. And we got a piece of this last time, because they're talking about the Air Force of Dragons. The Air Force of Dragons. Now, this is supposed to be during this Revolutionary War that's taking place. A series of books revolve around the primary characters, Tamarier and Captain William Lawrence. Captain Lawrence is a member of the British Royal Navy, serving in combat against Napoleon's Navy. So that brings in our Tecumseh drop with this Napoleon's Comet. And we're saying that it wasn't Napoleon's Comet. This is a fire-breathing dragon that scared the shit out of Napoleon in Russia, burnt everything down. All right, it says, this Lawrence is a member of the British Royal Navy, serving in combat against Napoleon's Navy when he recovers a dragon egg, unlike any other known in British. So then he gets this dragon egg, right? Now you got this Napoleon's Comet thing, right? This dragon, right? This cometa, this star with a tail. The egg soon hatches. Tamir, a Chinese dragon, is born under the impression that an unharnessed egg will become feral and unmanageable. Lawrence becomes Tamir's companion. So then they team up. He becomes a dragon aviator, they say. Before there was an actual navy with planes, they were flying in battle on dragons, man. And it was recent. It was all much recent than they want to, drop the drop on. So these are dope because it goes through different sizes of dragons. You got the regal copper, weighs a maximum of 50 tons, right? A regal copper. What kind of dragon do you think Moses made when he made the copper dragon? When Moses made the copper dragon. And he bit. Remember we said how Moses bit. How the dragon bit you and you got life. Oh man, let's get some relaxing guitar flowing, man, as we flow in the water. Let's go. Oh yeah, we in that 432. Love to sleep, easy, relax. It's all good. We just surfing away. Oh yeah, this is talking about the bite. So when it bites you, when this fiery serpent bites you, it's just talking about stinging, a stinging sensation. A primitive root to strike with a sting, like the sting of fire. So when you hear bite, oh, this fire, this serpent bites you. It's talking about the stinging of what? The fire-breathing dragon, man. It says Moses made a bronze, and then you go into the coordinates, Strong's Hebrew 5178, and you realize it's copper. Talking about a copper dragon, man. Now we say, okay, copper dragon. Got you. So these heavyweight dragons are copper, regal, negro, regal, copper. And this is what they were crossbreeding. And that's when we start digging on Roger Bacon, how they were eating your dragons. I mean, get all this drop, I'm just touching on it. When we talk dragons in America. It says the British Aerial Court sent dragons against the rebels. The British Aerial Court sent dragons. The British Aerial Corps. The Brits, remember how they say Tecumseh was allied with these Brits, man. These swarthy Brits, right? Because you got your Hebrew tribes that were, running under that. You know what I mean? So they all connected. And they had dragons, right? That's where this Lawrence comes in at. William Lawrence, he connects with this dragon, but they already had dragons in Britain, and that's the whole thing that this article was breaking down, was how could these whites, how could these rebels, right, these not you, but the ones that are over here illegally, how can they win a war against Britain and their dragons, against the indigenous Naga and their dragons? And the only conclusion that this author came up with was that they must have gotten help. Somebody must have gave them their dragons, and that's when you tie in the more on more war, that you had the more here also helping them out with treaties, right? Treaties of peace and friendship. And they gave dragons literally to the whites to fight against Britain's dragons, Britain's aerial corps, and the indigenous Nagas who already had dragons. Let's go. The Americans had no air corps, or the hijacks had no air corps of their own, so it is not known how the revolutionaries countered British dragons. It can only be assumed that they got their aerial support from other nations. So these revolutionaries, now they call you the revolutionary, right? See how everything's flipped? But back then, that was just the so-called whites trying to get independence from Britain. They called them the rebels and revolutionaries. And how did they counter Black Britain? Remember, there was still a black King George on the throne in Britain in 1751 when Benjamin Franklin was writing The Observation of Mankind. So how did they counter Britain's dragons? It can only be assumed they got help, man. They got aerial support from other nations, a confederacy, right? Psalms 83, right? They would form a confederacy against you, and these other nations gave them aerial support. They gave them dragons, yo. The United States initially had no aerial corps. Dragons were native to the Americas. You think they're making this shit up, or are we talking about free and Phineas? Are they making it up, or are we talking about free and Phineas? Are we talking about the dragon nesting grounds? Yeah, dragons are native to the Americas. That's why you have the ANDP, or the Arcadian National Dragon Preserve. You're preserving dragons. Why? Love to Miss D and the Copper Color Awakening, because dragons are native to the Americas. Though they were mostly in control of the Native American peoples. What? They were in control of the Native American peoples, mostly in the control of the Native American people. So you had your dragons at bay, you had them in check. Those are your, so-called pets or guardians, right? An example was the dragon seen by Lawrence and Tamier on the HMS William of Orange in late 1805. Is it play? This is all Tecumseh era, right? Wasn't there a dragon around this time, right? This comet, this eclipse, 1806. The dragon seen by Lawrence and Tamier on the HMS William of Orange, late 1805, was related or referred to by Sutton as Dakota. So you got North Dakota, South Dakota, named after this dragon. The name suggests that the dragon and his rider, the Naga, the Negro, the Amaru Khan, the riders, were members of the established branch of the Sioux people. It was said that following the attack on the Swana Kingdom, that the Americas were rapidly building area core of their own with the aid of native tribes. So now you had tribes assisting the revolutionaries. The Americans, they're calling them now, but that's the hijack they're talking about. They're not talking about the indigenous people, because you already had your Dragons. But now the hijack started building up their own aerial core, their own dragon army, man. And if you ain't seen the movie P-51 Dragon Fighter, maybe we'll watch it, man, on the next one, man. Fair use on them, you know what I'm saying? They said the Americans were breeding dragons at a frantic pace. In 1808 to 1809, the Iroquois hatched 32 dragons in New York alone. What? The Iroquois hatched 32 dragons in New York alone? Are we talking about? Are we talking about Free and Phineas, man? And what do we learn about Free and Phineas? Oh yeah, by the way, this green dragon was also supposed to be used as a symbol of America, man. It's a Native American petroglyph. Acadian green dragon, 1400s, man. Yeah, the Green Mountain Lodge, which connected to this Boston Tavern, this whole Tea Party situation. It was supposed to be the emblem of America. They said Benjamin Franklin, I believe, wanted to use it as an emblem of America. But yeah, we're just talking New York City. Phineas is the only great dragon alive in America. P.T. Barnum acquired 4 Acadian green dragon hatchlings, which he placed in his American Museum in New York. "150 years ago, these whales were burned alive in New York City. And now we realize that the Iroquois at that same time hatched 32 dragons in New York City alone. The Chumash Native Americans in California were also known to have dragons capable of flying across the Rockies. You're just talking Seraphim, angels or dragons, or both. The angel is the dragon is the angel, an angel of the highest order. When you're talking the lay Christian, they may say demon. That's why we're going to get this Revelations 12 in a minute. They may say demon. But you're just talking about the lay Christian, whose idea of what all angels look like is based on Catholic iconography, human-like with wings, archangels or children with wings. The word seraphim in the original Hebrew literally means fiery serpent. Jewish rabbis translated the word seraphim to dragons. So you got the Jewish rabbis literally translating the word seraphim, the highest what? An angel of the highest order, literally translating seraphim to dragon, dracon, identifying dragons as heavenly creatures, whose job was to consume the wicked. Cherubim and seraphim are actually different from the messenger angels, alright? And they say who are human-like servants, the messengers, the Mashiachs. But are they also dragons? Are they also meteors? Are they also presters? Dragons, comets, meteors, presters. Who is Prester John? Who is a meteor thrown from the clouds with such violence that it causes collision? Violence? What do you mean? Oh man, I'm just talking dragon. Right? A fiery shooting meteor or a fierce or violent person. So this comet is thrown to the ground with such violence. And then you got a fierce or violent person. This man or woman is a dragon to the hijack. Fierce or violent towards the hijack. I guess the angels of Sodom and Gomorrah might be considered fierce or violent. I guess the fiery dragons, the fiery serpents in Numbers 21 that's raining down on the Hebrews because they're going after idols might be considered fierce or violent. But you're just talking about the dracon. You're just talking about the dracon. You're just talking about the seraph, the highest order. So we know when we talk serpent, we're not talking dragon. See, when we talk serpent, in the loss of paradise and the events connected with it, the fox plays the part ascribed to the serpent in the Hebrew legend. The fox plays the role of the serpent. In the Egyptian legend, the jackal is the tempter. Oh man. The fox is the serpent. The jackal is the tempter. Now we're getting it, man. Now we're getting on track. Now we're starting to see clearly. Because they said before that we're going to get it. We're going to get the pioneer. We're going to get it. That these dragons in America were mostly in the control of the Native American people. In the control. They were your pets. They were your guardians. Then they started eating your dragons. We got this in Prester John and the Gypsies, right? That they started eating your dragons to do what? To get life? To gain life? Let's go, man. Let's go. Stop play. We're talking about these Egyptians eating your dragons to get life. Let's go to go. All this connected to these, what they call the Ethiopians in Western Europe. So once you get the full picture, you see that it's all swarthy. And that Tecumseh is connected with the family who are under this British flow. They wouldn't call, but we're just talking about the royals. And they're fighting against the hijack. And you're talking about the dragon frequency. You need to know that in Western Europe, When you talk about the Western Europe Ethiopians, the reptile that the Ethiopians eat is the dragon. For it is well known that wise Ethiopians have come to Italy and Spain and France and England, and those countries of the Christians where there are good flying dragons. There are good flying dragons. Free Phineas, man. And that by occult arts, which is sorcery, necromancy, which they possess, they drive the dragons out of their caves. And they have an art of preparing their flesh, and they partake of it against accidents of old age, which means they reverse their age so they get life, just like the dragon that Moses creates, the copper dragon, whoever it bites or stings, right? Whoever it bites, the Hebrew word is nashak, 5371, which also means what? To sting. So whoever this fire stings, you get life. So by eating this dragon, they also got life, man. They have an art of preparing their flesh, dragon flesh, to Ethiopians, man, in Western Europe, which are just the Moors, right? Are the Confederacy. Let's go. And they partake of it against accidents of old age and prolong their lives and make their intellect subtle beyond all estimation. They get super smart and super life. Come on, man. Dragons are coming out of their holes, right? They get them out their caves. You already remember in 2nd Baruch 73, we're talking about eternal shalom, man. How health will descend and dew, and illness will vanish, and what else? And nobody will die untimely anymore. We're talking about a redemption. Then what? And the wild beast will come out of the woods and serve man, and the asp and dragons will come out of their holes. So they got the dragons out their caves, right? The dragons will come out of their holes to subject themselves to a child. This is prophecy. That these angels, these guardian angels, will return. These Seraphim, or Dracones, or Seraphim, are heavenly creatures. Heavenly. The angels are the dragons. The dragons will return. The guardian angels will come out of their holes to subject themselves to a child, which means they're harmless. They're there to serve, to submit, to subject, to be the guardians. Because you remember, that these dragons in Americas are mostly in the control of the Native American people, the Naga, the copper-colored Naga. You remember that in Prester John, the Legend and Sources, dropped by Time Battle, page 84 of the PDF, it says, we're just talking Prester priest, right? We're just talking priest. I mean, come on. We're talking comet, we're talking meteor, we're talking priest. We're talking Prester, meteor, Prester, dragon. Also, there is towards the south in that region a certain place of ours at which the world ends, man. That's you, man. They found you where the world ends to them. To them, you know? The world ends to them. Cavern of Dragons is the name. Way over here, America, right? America, right? Dragons were native to the Americas, right? Free Phineas. It is long and wide, excessively difficult and most severe in severity, and difficult with the deepness and depth that is most deep and most cavernly and full of secret places. Indeed, in this place there are infinite thousands of dragons. How much is that? Infinite thousands of dragons, which the residents of those surrounding provinces guard with the greatest diligence. So they guard them. They guard each other. lest any wizards from India, who's the wizards from India, or elsewhere are able to steal one of those dragons. For in fact, the princes of the Indians are accustomed to have dragons at weddings and at other banquets of theirs, and without dragons they do not consider the banquet to be complete. And just as cattle and mule herders are accustomed to humble and humanize the horses young, to teach them and tame them, and to call them by their own names, to place bridle and saddle on them, and to ride them wherever they wish, so too these men have custody and command of the dragons. Another source backing up that what? Dragons were native to the Americas, though they were mostly in the control of the Native American peoples. They have command of the dragons. So too these men who have custody and command of the dragons. The Negro. The dragon commanders. When they came here, they went to war against you and your angels, you and your guardians. Humble the same dragons by their incantations and magic, and humanize them, and teach them, and subdue them, and call them by their own names. So too these men, these Nagas, these Negush, these kings, these Negroes, these copper-colored races found here, have custody and command of the dragons. The dragon commanders humble the same dragons by their incantations and magic, humanize them, teach them, subdue them. Subdue them. Dragons are coming out of their holes to submit, to subject themselves to a child, Dragons. And women will no longer have pain when they bear, man. That's paradise. Ain't it, my sister? And at the same time that you lose all pain, dragons are submitting and subjecting themselves. Why? Because you dragon commanders humble these dragons. You ride them whenever and wherever you wish. You subdue them. You call them by their own names. Each year these dragon peoples, man, these Nagas, release to our magnificence for tribute 100 men, 100 dragon masters, and 100 dragons humanized in this way. They are like cows amongst these men. And when the men play with them admirably by leading them here and there by their head and tail, right? Just like dogs, right? But this ain't the dog. This ain't the dog. This ain't the jackal. But this is why they put them so similar, because you have this energy. Remember, all animals come from the dragon. So even the dog comes from the dragon, the frequency of cats. All animals come from the frequency of the fire, water, air, and the earth, man, which is the dragon. So dragons have dog qualities, but the dogs have the dragon qualities, not the other way around. And you, Naga, you play with them admirably by leading them here and there by their head and tail. The dragons are like dogs. Truly, these men with their dragons are our carriers, who, when it pleases our clemency, desiring to know all the news from every part, we send them with those dragons flying through the air, through every climate of the world. So ask yourself, when everyone got the Prester John letter in 1165, everybody got it in every language, everyone got it. How did everybody get this letter in every language if there were no airplanes? Truly, these men with their dragons are our couriers. When it pleases our clemency, when it pleases Prester John, desiring to know all the news from every part, we send them with those dragons flying through the air, through every climate of the world. Because when these Nagas play with their dragons admirably by leading them here and there by the head and tail, the dragons are like dogs. Wow. They were mostly in the control of the Native Americans, the copper color races. But there's a difference between the dragon frequency and the dogs, alright? Because the fox plays the part ascribed to the serpent in the Hebrew legend, and in the Egyptian legend, the jackal is the tempter. Oh yeah, we're just talking jackals, man. We're just talking Thoth and them, right? Because Thoth is Anubis, love to Carameo, who broke this down expertly, beautifully. He broke down the indigenous connection with this particular jackal, and that this is Egypt. So you're going to find Atlantis right here, and you're going to find the original Thoth dog jackal right here in America. So not only is he breaking down the dog, Anubis, jackal, serpent situation, because this Anubis is the serpent. The fox, the coyote, the dog, the jackal is the serpent in the Hebrew legend, in the indigenous mind, in the indigenous legend. Not a dragon, it's the fox, it's the coyote, it's Fox News, it's the jackal in the Egyptian legend. So when you start thinking like a Christian, and they're getting all their stuff from Egypt, Horus and immaculate births and all this stuff, then you're connecting their serpent, which is the fox, which is the Anubis, man. Which is the dog-headed St. Christopher, man. Is it play? Is it play? Well, Carameo, no, it ain't no play. Carameo, no, it ain't no play. So we got a few more things to hit up, but I just want to hit up this Carameo. And hopefully we have time to dig on some of this Revelations 12 and Leviathan for the dismount, man. Let's get some of this Carameo drop. Can you dig it? Let's go, man. Ahchwa, subscribe right away to Carameo, because as you can see, he got the drop. Let go. Let go.
Ahchwa.
Wow.
Mashahab Shabbatah. I know, it's been a while, But just trust, I've been grinding hard, surfing the wave hard too. I missed y'all. Of course I did. Don't forget, we stay surfing the wave. Real time. Check me out every Monday on 432 The Drop Radio. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday. Check my Instagram page out at Kurimeo and my Google Plus. I drop a lot of stuff there all the time. I wasn't going to drop this yet. It was part of the new series that I've been working on called Forbidden History, Forbidden Archaeology, America, the True Old World. But I thought it deserved its own video, We actually found Anubis, real Anubis, here in America. Yes, America. They flipped everything on us.
Is this play? So you got the indigenous Thoth, the indigenous Anubis, man. Now you see where they trying to make it Egyptian, and then this is Egypt, man. This is Atlantis, man. Carameo, you got the drive.
There's many layers to the lies that we have to uncover, but we are doing it little by little. You gotta break the spell.
Yeah.
Break the spell. Find your true orientation, your true perspective. Foundational truth. Get that pure water. Let it in. Break the spell. Glad you're all here. Let's begin. Xolitzcuintli is the official name of the Mexican hairless dog, also known as Perro, Pelón Mexicano in Mexican Spanish, a pre-Columbian canine breed from Mesoamerica, dating back to over 3,500 years ago. This is one of the many native dog breeds in the Americas, and it is often confused with the Peruvian hairless dog. The dog Xolitzcuintli references Xolotl because this dog's mission was to accompany the souls of the dead in their journey into eternity. So we're in this book. It's called The Aztec Empire. And we're going to go to page 73 in this book. Let me zoom in. The spirit of the dog had the task of transporting its master spirit to the underworld after death. Again, the task of the dog, right, in ancient Aztec mythology and religion, was to guide, transport its master spirit to the underworld after death. Ancient History Encyclopedia. Dogs in Ancient Egypt. 1. Whether as hunters and companions or guards, police, or religious figures, the dog was a common feature of the ancient Egyptian landscape. Dogs in Mesoamerican folklore and myth. Dogs have occupied a powerful place in Mesoamerican folklore and myth since at least the classic period right through the modern times. Dogs are represented in Egyptian art work from the pre-dynastic period forwards, either as companions at the hunt or as in the afterlife vignettes. Again, afterlife, right? Just like in Mexico. They also appear on ceramics such as the siltstone palettes, which were used in daily life, such as the Four Dogs palette at the Louvre for cosmetics, or in ceremonies or commemorations, as with the Narmer palette. Xolotl, one of the deities described in the Codex Borgia, says here, alright, says, was the god with associations to both lightning and death. He was associated with the sunset and would guard the sun as it traveled through the underworld every night. Dogs were associated with Xolotl. This deity and a dog were believed to lead the soul on its journey to the underworld. Ancient Egypt Online. Anubis is one of the most iconic gods of ancient Egypt. Anubis is the Greek version of his name. The ancient Egyptians knew him as Ampu or Impu. Anubis was an extremely ancient deity whose name appears in the oldest mastabas of the Old Kingdom in the pyramid text as a guardian and protector of the dead. Alright, just like Xolotl. Alright, we're talking about ancient Egypt, we're talking about America. He was originally a god of the underworld, but became associated specifically with the embalming process and funeral rites. Again, this deity and a dog were believed to lead the soul on its journey to the underworld. Again, Xolotl, right? We related him to Anubis. Says, he is believed to lead the soul on its journey to the underworld. Like many ancient Egyptian deities, Anubis assumed different roles in various contexts, depicted as protector of graves as early as the first dynasty, 3100 BC. Anubis was also embalmer by the Middle Kingdom, was replaced by Osiris in his role as Lord of the Underworld. Alright, Osiris / aka, man, these are all epithets of Thoth, and we know Anubis is Hermanubis. We're going to get into that. It's basically Thoth. Hermes is Thoth. One of his prominent roles was a god who ushered souls into the afterlife. Again, archaeological evidence has been found in the tombs of Colima, Mayan, Toltec, Zapotec, and Aztec Native Americans, dating the breed to over 3,500 years ago. Long regarded as guardians and protectors, the indigenous peoples believed that the Xolo would safeguard the home from evil spirits as well as intruders. In ancient times, the Xolos were often sacrificed and then buried with their owners to act as a guide to the soul on its journey to the underworld. Guide of Souls. By the late Pharaonic era, 664 BC to 332 BC, Anubis was often depicted as guiding individuals across the threshold from the world of the living to the afterlife. Again, Anubis was often depicted as guiding individuals across the threshold from the world of the living to the afterlife. Xolos were considered sacred dogs by the Aztecs, Toltecs, Maya, and other groups. They were also useful companion animals. According to Aztec mythology, the god Xolotl made the Xolitzcuintli from a silver of the bone of life from which all mankind was made. Sholot gave this gift to man, with the instruction to guard it with his life. In exchange, it would guide man through the dangers of Mictlan, the world of death, toward the evening star in the heavens. Xoloitzcuintli is of course a breed of dog here in Mexico, often shortened to Xolo. These beautiful, often black, hairless, and therefore flealess dogs were almost extinct, but connected efforts to rescue it have been successful. It is believed to be one of the world's oldest and rarest breeds, dating to 3,000 to 7,000 years. 3,000 to 7,000 years. If I'm talking about ancient Egypt, I'm talking about America.
Bang.
Alright, people? In pre-Hispanic times, they were considered sacred, with healing properties both for the body and the soul. In Ptolemaic period, when Egypt became a Hellenistic kingdom ruled by Greek pharaohs, Anubis was merged with the Greek god Hermes, or Thoth, right? Hermes is Thoth, becoming Hermanubis. So I told you Anubis is Thoth, the
Anubis is Thoth. Love to Carameo.
world. You know, Thoth is an epithet. He created all these epithets. He's the jack.
Cynocephalus. Cynocephalus.
Considered sacred, with healing properties both for the body and the soul. In Ptolemaic period, when Egypt became a Hellenistic kingdom ruled by Greek pharaohs, Anubis was merged with the Greek god Hermes, or Thoth, right? Hermes is Thoth,
Bang.
becoming Hermanubis. So I told you Anubis is Thoth.
Anubis is Thoth. Then they got Sinopolis, like Cynocephalus, Sinopolis, a place whose Greek name means city of dogs. So when it's chasing through the Greeks, when it's chasing through the Egyptians, back to the Atlanteans, and you see the connection right here in indigenous America, you know this is Egypt, and now you're connecting all the deities, all this worship, all this situation, and now you're realizing what the real serpent is, man. Love to Carameo. Get in the classroom. You see how amazing the flow is here, man. So keep the flow going and keep the water flowing, because those that are dropping the truth, those are fearless in the investigation, this is who you got to support, man. Because if you care about getting the drop, if you care about getting the reality, the healing due, you got to support the researchers that are turning over all these dragon stones, all these dragon eggs, man. Love to Carameo. And like you said, every Monday, 7 o'clock Pacific time, 10 o'clock Eastern, man, the bro drops the Carameo meditations directly for Drop Nation. So tune in, 432 to Drop Radio, every Monday, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Get that drop. Let go, man. We just talking Cynocephalus. Where's my cephalus drop, man? Cynocephalus. Where you go? There you go. The Cynocephalus, man. The dog-headed man. The dog-headed man. The dog-headed man. I mean, just look at the picture, man. The picture's worth 1,000 words. And love to Drop Nation. I know you've been dropping all kind of links. I'm slow, man. I gotta catch up to them, but I know you digging on it. Cynocephalus, the dog-headed man. Most people have werewolves, right? So you got these werewolf connection. You got it, all right? But few know of the ancient race of dog-headed men known as Cynocephali. Cynocephalus was essentially a man with the head of a dog. They could understand language, but had no ability to speak. Though they are sometimes depicted in artwork as being civilized, they were, by all reports, savage beasts who lived to hunt and to kill. While this may sound like just another mythical creature, there are very good reasons to believe that the Cynocephali may have actually existed. Above all of them, these dog-headed men who were described in reports by famous explorers such as Christopher Columbus and Marco Polo. Yeah, man, I mean, that's when it all starts to, come out. That's when we say, man, a picture's worth 1,000 words, man. When you talk Cephalus and Christopher, Saint Christopher, We're just talking Saint Christopher, man. Zombies everywhere. Zombies everywhere. I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words, man. So who's the fox? Who's the serpent? In the fall of paradise and the events connected with it, the fox plays the part ascribed to the serpent in the Hebrew legend. We're just talking about the jackal. We're just talking about the fox. So let's talk Leviathan. Ahchwa. Ahab the Drive Nation, man, because this is an ongoing investigation, and you see how it keeps weaving together. Let's talk Leviathan, man. Remember, we were talking Moses and the dragon. You can have all these links here. You see these paintings, man, that are connecting Moses with this dragon, man. We're not just talking serpent talk, man. We're talking dragon talk, man. This is their Persianized picture of Moses and Aaron conjuring up their dragon. Alright. And this is their dragon, Moses and Aaron. Let's talk Leviathan, man. Let's go. Get it for the dismount. You're talking dragon, you're talking Quetzalcoatl. Alright? Remember the Mormons, they say Jesus' Mesoamerican name is Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl's the name of Jesus. They gotta claim Joshua, man. They gotta claim this dragon, this Quetzal, this lofty dragon, and they have to claim him as a Mashiach. But they're twisting it, right? It's always a twist. It's always a twist when you Levi up. So let's get it from here, man. I put my Leviathan drop back. Hey. You know, sometimes we just get a little tabby. Oh, some great Presta job. Hold up, man. Okay. Like I said, Drop Nation, we've been digging on it. So pull this drop up, sacredtext.com. We touched on this, man, a little while ago. And for the dismount, I think we should see it, man, clearly. You know what I mean? Because we're just talking Revelations 12. So let's get that like it's the first time. If you just new to the classroom, this is how we connect. This is the connect gang all day, man. Let's go. Let's take it there, you know. We're talking Leviathan, so of course we're talking Job, right? But for now, we're talking Revelations, man. Let's go, man. Let's enter the mind of a hijack, where dragons are demons, right? In the mind of a hijack, the dragons are demons, right? I mean, hey. In the mind of a hijack, you got the Catholic iconography, the human life with wings, man. I mean, Not talking seraphim. When you know that seraphim are the dragon, drakan. Only to the lay Christian, right? Let's go, man. So when we read Revelations 12, we got to do our best not to read it like a lay Christian, right? Something has to separate our philosophy, our perspective, than someone just coming out of Sunday gospel church and you saying, look, a red dragon, look, bad dragon. You have to be able to see clearly. You can't see through their lens. This is hijack master sorcery 101 when you dig on this stuff that was put together in councils just to deceive you. Let's go. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. So right away, you know you're talking about a celestial woman, a celestial mother. If you have orientation, you know that everything in the stars is underneath the firmament. So you know there's a barrier over the stars. The stars are within the firmament, right? So you got to have orientation to see this clearly. You got to have it all. The frequency, the vibration. So under this barrier is where this so-called Satan, right? This so-called Lucifer is able to control and rule for a time. He can put everything under this barrier damn near in 440 hertz, man. He's trying, right? Trying to create a synthetic reality, a matrix, an illusion. You got to break the spell, like Caramel said. So underneath this firmament, this barrier that keeps the hijack out, that Thoth said he can't see past in the Emerald Tablets. He says that there's a big white light, and he can't see past this barrier. Every time he comes close, he gets chased away by what he calls the hounds of the barrier, which are the angels, which are the dragons. And he keeps getting chased away by these angels or these dragons every time he gets too close. And he calls them hounds, but who's the hound? Who's the fox? Who's the sly fox? Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping, man. Love the caramel. So you have this celestial mother, this celestial queen of heaven. Remember the scriptures talking about the queen mother of heaven? How the Israelites were baking raisin cakes and stuff to this queen mother of heaven. This is who they're talking about in Revelations 12. But the whites, but the jackals are tricking you. These tempters are tricking you to think that this is something righteous going on with this queen mother. But the Christians are eating this shit up. I mean, the Christians are eating it up. Man, just right quick, man. Remember, Matthew 15. Verse 20, what is it? Oh, here we go. 22. Behold, a woman of Canaan, Canaan. We talking jackals. Let's go. Came out of the same coast, cried to him, saying, have mercy on me, O son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil. But he answered her not a word. He ignored this canine. He ignored this dog. He ignored this lady. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of Israel. But the Christians don't get this. They say it's all Christianity. But that who you venerate only came for the lost tribes of Israel. Just like Tekumesh, just like Hawata, just like all your prophets. Just like Joshua, right? And that's the difference between the old and new, so-called old and new. is that here, man, it's all about the children. It's all about the tribe. It's not about, oh, everybody, here's a gospel. Nah, man. Let's get your land back. Let's go. Priest King, let's go. I came to get my people's land back, man. I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Only Israel. Christians have cognitive dissonance. They look right past that. Like, yeah, okay. No, he literally only came for Israel. So if you're not here for Israel, you're not on the same mission. You don't got the same mission plan. You don't got the same agenda. Only the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then you hear about Tecumseh gathering all these tribes, right, to fight against the hijack. This is what a priest king does. Then came she and worshipped him, man. So the lady, the Canaan, the Canaanite, the Canaan came and worshiped this Joshua, but he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. Now we thought it was just play. Now we're starting to see clearly. Now we're starting to realize, man, that it ain't no play. These dogs, it ain't no play. Now she didn't deny this. She said, true. Yeah, man, I get it. Truth. That's right. Yet the dogs eat the crumbs which fall from the master's table. The dragons are the masters. You are the master. And the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. The Most High made you the masters. He gave you He told you Deuteronomy 28, you're going to be the head, not the tail. And now we're digging on stars with tails, right? The master's table. So she didn't deny it. She said, yeah, but even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Then it said, okay, Joshua hooked her up. He went ahead and blessed her. All right, as long as you know. First, he had to put her in a place, though, right? First, he had to talk about them dogs, right? So when we talk this woman in Revelations, you got to read it with the same lens, man. You got to see through the hijack. You got to know you're talking about a great wonder in heaven. Doesn't mean above the firmament. It means the stars. So what celestial hijack, what Jupiter are we talking about? Think celestial, think Jupiter, knowing that they worship Zeus or Jupiter, and that Jupiter is Zeus or Jesus. And this is the phantom, this is the abstraction they're taking from it. And this is what they're worshiping. The same Zeus, the same dog head, the same Anubis, the same Thoth, the same Hermes Trismegistus. Revelations 12:2, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. So all the Christians know is this, Revelations 12:3. Even our own brothers, sad to say, this is where they go. They try to talk down on these seraphim, these angels of the highest order, having 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns. And we're going to get this and compare it to the Leviathan story in the sacred text. And his tail drew a third of the parts of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child. And when you realize, astrologically speaking, this woman that they're talking about, this celestial horoscope situation, she's giving birth. Out of her womb is giving birth to literally Jupiter. So we did all this connection, and you can, dig on it further, man. You're talking about the stars of heaven. You're talking about the celestial. And this baby being born is literally, astrologically speaking, you're talking about the child. You're talking about Zeus. You're talking about Jupiter being born. Jesus being born. Zeus, Jupiter being born. And this is an astrological tale of signs. And this dragon that is devouring this child is doing its job, being a hijack slayer, slaying the child of this woman, which is Jupiter, which is Jesus, which is Zeus, not Joshua, is Zeus. That's why they have to change his name. Even if they know his name is Yeshua, Joshua, they keep saying Zeus. Then they finally say, all right, well, fine, but I'm going to keep the story. Man. That's because there's truth in everything, and all you can see and all you can feel is, I don't want to let go of that little bit of truth and connect to a lot more water that will give you the full flow. But you got to empty your cup to see it. So this woman's giving birth to Jupiter, and this dragon's about to devour it in the celestial, in the heavens, right? Notice that red dragon is on the flag of the Welsh flag and all that, because this is all yours. This is all your frequency. And you were a hijacked slave. You were ready to devour Zeus when he got here, the same as your dragon. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man child. We're talking Jupiter, we're talking Zeus, who was to rule all the nations with the rod of iron, man. If this don't give it away, what will? Because no prophets rule with the rod of iron, man. They got emerald scepters, man. Your prophets don't rule with iron. Iron doesn't describe you, copper-colored naga. You're talking about Zeus. You're talking about Jupiter. He's the iron one. Oh, you're iron deficient. Iron in your diet. Iron shackles, iron chains, iron prisons, man. Free Phineas, man. Why do you make the iron shackles and put them on you? What's this iron got to do with you? What's it got to do with Leviathan? Let's go. So this Zeus, this Jupiter that's about to be devoured by this dragon, all right? This man-child who was to rule all the nations with the rod of iron, right? Matthew 28. All power has been given to me under heaven. All power has been given to me. What priest king talks like that? All power has been given to me. Moses don't talk like that. Joshua don't talk like that. Who's this hijacking Matthew 28 saying all power has been given to him? Ruling with the rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. Now you got to look at this God very closely when they put it in Revelations. Because G-O-D is D-O-G. G-O-D is the same as D-O-G. You're talking dog, Cephalus. You're talking Thoth. You're talking the hijack 101. I mean, it's right there in our face bones, man. So that's why they keep putting God, because they like to reverse the English spell. They're just talking dog the whole time, which is why the dog woman, the Canaan woman of Canaan, is saying, yeah, I get it. I know I'm a dog. But even the dogs eat the crumbs, man. And the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared of God, or their dog god. Remember, they worship Sirius. Let's go. Anubis. Let's go. And they shall feed there for 2,000, 2,000 square days. So this has to do with their Anubis, man. This has to do with them hiding this Zeus child, man. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought the angels. Now you're saying, well, look, the dragon's fighting the angels. I'm like, yeah, you need to know the context of that. Maybe there's a further context, and maybe it's called the sacred text. And prevailed not. Michael did not prevail against the dragon. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Let's go. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. So it's saying the dragon prevailed not. The dragon prevailed not, which even matches the story even clearer when we're about to read it. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. And that dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil. Let's go, man. So let's compare it to this Leviathan. Remember Leviathan in etymology. Remember who you are. Let's go. Play. So let's connect it. It might seem like a stretch at first, but watch, man. Just fall back, surf the wave for the dismount. Leviathan, sea monster, right? Whale, right? Dragon. Sometimes regarded as a form of Satan. So already you're connecting this, sometimes regarded as a form of Satan, this dragon. And here it says what? Called the devil and Satan. This dragon is called the devil and Satan. And this Leviathan is sometimes regarded by who? Who sometimes regards Leviathan as Satan? That doesn't even make sense. We don't call Leviathan Satan. That's one of, not in Job, right? In Job, it's being bragged about, this dragon that the Most High can, put his hooks into, can grab him by the hooks and do all this. It seems like a big pet that the Most High has, like a giant pet. Like they say, your dragons are pets to you, but the Most High's dragon is Leviathan, man. But let's get this drop, man, because this dragon was sacrificed. And in Revelations 12, it's saying, oh, he didn't prevail. He prevailed not. But why did he prevail not? And did he really lose the battle to Michael and the angels or to someone else? And watch this, man. Let's go, man. Drop Nation got the drop. So this is talking about the creation of the world, the first things created. Out the sacred text, pull it up. Go down to the 5th day for the dismount. Let's go. And we're just going to get it from here. And I'm going to leave you a link so you can get the drop the first time we went over this. When we talk Leviathan, it says on the 5th day of creation, Ahchwa took fire and water. And out of these two elements, he made the fishes of the sea, the animals in the water, right? In Genesis, it said the whales, the great whales, right? But we're talking dragons. The animals in the water are much more numerous than those on land. For every species on land, excepting only the weasel, there is a corresponding species in the water. And besides, there are many found only in the water. So more animals are in the water. The ruler over the sea animal is Leviathan. He is the king of the entire ocean. And with all other fish, he was made on the 5th day. Originally, he was made or created male and female like the other animals. But when it appeared that the pair of these monsters, I know it's small, pull it up so you can see the whole thing. When it appeared that a pair of these monsters, these big dragons, might annihilate the whole earth with their united strength, Ahchwa killed the female. So enormous is Leviathan that to quench his thirst, he needs all the water that flows from the Jordan into the sea. His food consists of the fish which go between his jaws of their own accord. When he is hungry, a hot breath blows from his nostrils. So when you see all these oceans being swallowed up, and you see all this like, oh man, that used to be an ocean. Well, that used to be a beach. remember all that stuff with the beaches and drying out, so this gives you another context to look at these beaches and this, where'd the water go? Where'd the water go? So enormous is Leviathan that to quench his thirst, he needs all the water that flows from the Jordan into the sea. He was thirsty, my bad. His food consists of fish, which goes between his jaws on his own accord. When he is hungry, a hot breath blows from his nostrils, and it makes the waters of the great sea seething hot. Formidable, though behemoth, remember the other great creature, right? Great creation. The other monster, right? He feels insecure until he is certain that Leviathan has satisfied his thirst. The only thing that can keep him in check is his stickleback, a little fish which is created for the purpose of which he stands in great awe. But Leviathan is more than merely large and strong. Let's get it. He is wonderfully made. Besides, his fins radiate brilliant light. The very sun is obscured by it. So when you talk about the fins and this second sun and how bright, how much power, the very sun is obscured by the light of Leviathan, man. And also his eyes shed such splendor that frequently the sea is illuminated suddenly by it. No wonder there is a marvelous beast, that this marvelous beast is the plaything of God, the plaything of Ahchwa. So when you talk about Job and how this Leviathan is described in Job, that's Ahchwa's little homie, man. That's the homie. That's the plaything. That's Ahchwa's dragon. But he sacrificed Leviathan. He sacrificed this great serpent, sometimes called Satan. Let's go. There is but one thing that makes Leviathan repulsive, his own foul smell, which is so strong that it penetrates thither. It would render paradise itself an impossible abode. So he can't kick it in paradise. The real purpose of Leviathan, listen up, is to be served as a dainty to the pious in the world to come. So this is the sacred text drop on Leviathan, that he will be eaten or served, right? This giant sea fish. You get life, right? That's why they're eating your dragons. The female was put into brine as soon as she was killed. So Ahchwa killed the female and already put her in brine to be eaten. Why? To be preserved against the time when her flesh will be needed. The male is destined to offer a delectable sight to all beholders before he is consumed. When his last hour arrives, Ahchwa will summon the angels to enter into combat with the monster. Ahchwa will summon the angels. So now we're talking Michael, right? Let's go. This is connected directly to Revelations 12, and this is the spin they're putting on it. And this is why you gotta study and show yourself approved. Because what happens, he says, there will be war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. Because this dragon is an angel. Let's go. So what happened? The Most High will summon the angels, Michael and them, right? To enter into combat with Leviathan, the dragon. But no sooner will Leviathan cast his glance at them than they will flee in fear and dismay from the field of battle. So in Revelations it said, yeah, it was easy work, man. Michael and the angels, the dragon fought against them, but didn't prevail, and they left it at that. Oh, thank you, Revelations 12. Thank you, Council of Nicaea, for leaving out all the goods, because in reality, Michael and his angels didn't want no smoke with Leviathan. So they came, Ahchwa summoned the angels to combat with Leviathan, but no sooner will Leviathan cast his glance at them, and they will flee in fear and dismay from the field of battle. Why? Because when you're talking dragon, sometimes regarded as a form of Satan, this Leviathan. And you're talking the etymology of dragon, perhaps in the literal sense, the one with the deadly glance. Literally, the one with the deadly glance, my naga. You know how you look at somebody and they say, damn, nigga, calm down, because you got the deadly glare. You got the deadly glance, man. Leviathan has a deadly glance. And when Michael and the angels rode up on him, what happened? Leviathan cast his glance at them and they will flee. They flee. They fled from battle. They will return to charge with swords, but in vain, for his scales can turn back steel like straw. They will be equally unsuccessful when they attempt to kill him by throwing darts and slinging stones. Such missiles will rebound off Leviathan, man, without leaving the least impression on his body. So then what happens to Michael and the angels? Disheartened, the angels will give up the combat. So they gave up. Michael said, I'm cool. And Ahchwa will command Leviathan and Behemoth to enter into a duel with each other. And this is what picks up with Mud Fossils University, you know, showing this evidence of this huge dragon, man, in the north of Africa, and this huge fish with these fins, and it looked like they went to war. So, you know, this is all coming, you know, either it happened before, it's going to happen again, who knows? But there's evidence, man. There's archaeology, man. There's science, man. The angels will give up combat. Michael gave up. Most High sent Behemoth, the other monster, right? The other dragon. From the skin of Leviathan, Ahchwa will construct tents to shelter companies of the pious, the righteous. So not only do you eat the Leviathan meat to shelter you and give you life at some point, not only Leviathan, but the female one that was created, who's already been put into brine. She was put into brine as soon as she was killed. But also the skin of Leviathan, Ahchwa constructs tents to shelter companies of the righteous, man, while you enjoy the dishes made of his flesh. The amount assigned to each of the pious will be in proportion to his deserts, or his lands, all right, yes, deserts, will be in proportion with his deserts or his land, and none will envy or begrudge the other for his better share. What is left of Leviathan's skin will be stretched out over Jerusalem. What is left of Leviathan's skin will be stretched out over Jerusalem as a canopy, and the light streaming from it will illuminate the whole world. What's left of Leviathan's skin after the righteous eat, man, will be stretched out over Jerusalem, says the sacred text, and the light streaming from it will illuminate the whole world. And what is left of his flesh after the righteous have appeased their appetite will be distributed among the rest of men to carry on traffic therewith. Wow. So he sacrificed. His flesh becomes a canopy stretched out over Jerusalem as a canopy. Reminds me of the Most High saying, you know, I stretched it out. I stretched out the skies. I stretched it out like a canopy. I stretched it out like a tent. Could this be the firmament? Could the firmament literally be Leviathan's skin? Mud fossils finding bones. I mean, could this be the skin? Could that be the firmament? And the light streaming from it will illuminate the world, man. And what is left after the pious, the righteous have eaten, man, after the Nagas eat, it will be distributed amongst the rest of man. All the heathen could eat now. All the Gentiles could eat. So this is the story of the sacrifice of Leviathan, the dragon, which in Revelations 12 they spin again. So this war happened. This dragon attacked this Jupiter, attacked this situation. They're making a celestial, astrological situation over an actual foundational legend of Leviathan, who they're saying is what? Sometimes called who? Sometimes regarded as a form of Satan. Sometimes regarded as a form of Satan by who? Because this Leviathan was supposed to have many heads too, right? Many heads. His tail drew a third of the stars, a third of the fallen angels got swept away by his tail. The dragon stood ready to devour. Ahchwa sent Michael and the angels, and what happened? There was a war. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought with his angels. In reality, they got that deadly glance and they booked it, they fled. But they skip over that, and in Revelations 12:8 they say, and he prevailed not. The dragon prevailed not. Leviathan prevailed not. Why? Because he was sacrificed. This dragon was sacrificed. This dragon called the devil and serpent.